So, successful rescue operation yesterday. I did purchase a 914. Price was right. The seller and he had a buddy there helping him were very helpful in loading the vehicle. I got a little bit more information on the vehicle. Apparently, the seller's buddy has a wrecker, and he salvages vehicles, from people wanting to get rid of them, and they realized this car was unusual and didn't need to go to the crusher. Thank goodness. We all want to save the 914s. So let's take a quick look at the car. I've got a few minutes this morning before I run some errands, and then we'll start looking deeper into all the compartments and evaluating what it's going to need to get back on the road. So it is 75 Porsche 914 4-cylinder. It has, I believe those are empty wheels, which are common to 914s and Volkswagens because it's a 4-lug. The front of the car on the passenger side actually looks pretty darn good. I noted that there's probably some Bondo right in there. You can see it cracking. And up here by the cowl, it doesn't have a defined line there. That indicates somebody put body filler in there because there's probably rust along the cowl. A glass is intact, so that's a plus. It's got the late mirrors, which most collectors don't care much for. A lot of collectors will swap them for the early chrome exterior rearview mirrors. Looks like there may be some more body work back on the rear quarter. It's got the chrome trim, which at one time was an appearance package, although part of the appearance package was a console, which this 914 doesn't have. The back of the car is not too bad. Taillight lenses, they're cracked on that side. This one looks pretty good. The rear trunk lid, one of the hinges is off on the passenger side. That's reading it's askew. We'll open that up later and look at the pan. I did check that, and it does have some rust. That's not unusual. Note that on the engine compartment lid, we're missing the Porsche script letters. Coming around here, I haven't messed with the latches on the target top. I want to see if that'll nest. It doesn't appear. You can tell by the shot line on the door. The body is not sagging from what I can tell, and that may change later. The interior is actually pretty darn good. The only thing that's missing on my initial observations is the radio. The seats, let me pull the cover back here. I haven't seen cloth in that area before. I don't know. It's typically vinyl. I don't know if somebody sewed cloth in, or maybe that was an option. So we can evaluate that some more. Moving around to the driver's side front. Oh, found this out. That wheel bearing is shot. It's not moving now, but when we were loading the car up, yeah, that whole wheel was wibbly wobbling around. And this is probably the most significant damage on the car. That quarter panel, that's going to be impossible to bend out. So I'll be looking for a replacement front fender. At least, I've done this before where I've cut them right here and replaced just the front of the wing there. And that's completely doable. And to replace the whole fender it's a major operation. There's a whole slew of spot welds that have to come out. So let's take a look right here. There probably is Bondo there. There should be like a line there. So I suspect that whole front cowl has body filler down in there. But let's see if the glass is original. It does appear to be original glass. VIN matches up with what the owner gave me, the seller. So that's my initial observations. We'll take a better look at it later today. I'll start getting into the trunks, pulling stuff out into the driver's compartment. Yeah, that one. I know the door handle on the driver's side is broken. One of the potential buyers broke that. That's troublesome. And you'll also note right there, there's some body filler, and that's a common rust area. I'll tell you more about that later, because I've been up in there repairing that, and that is not a lot of fun. So anyway, that's what we got so far. Let's call this Porsche 914 Rescue Day 1. Thanks for watching. Okay, let's dig in some more here. So rear trunk. That middle piece is cover for the alternator, if I remember correctly. And then I think that's part of the tire tool kit. So we've got, I don't think that's original carpet, cut to fit something, not sure what. This may be somebody's glued that in after the fact. So looking under here, we got some Swiss cheese going on. Usually right down there at where the water settles, that's where it gets the worst. But you know, I'm seeing perforations right there. Now, if you hit that with a wire brush, more holes are going to open up. That's a whole glob of seam sealer. Rust gets under. So yeah, getting that glue off is not going to be fun at all. That's some tough stuff. But I wasn't worried about salvaging the carpet, because it's definitely a homemade thing. I'm pleased with the condition of this rear pan, except for these few perforations down here. I mean, it is not bad. Of course, then again, if you hit it with a wire brush, more holes will start to appear. So I think basically what I'm going to do is vacuum this out and just reevaluate it. I noted that the some of the original equipment is still here. This cover over the shock tower, these little cups, which if I remember right has to do with putting the target top back inside here. This cover's busted. The trunk seal is still in place. That probably helped immensely. The outer seal is pretty trashed. Nice mud dauber nest there. I mean, all the little pieces, parts on the rear taillight assemblies still there. And these always break. That's the rubber hold down for the target top when you got it in storage, so that's not surprising. Same for the clips. Driver's side is broken off, passenger side not. Okay, original sticker still there. Outstanding. Very pleased with the condition. We'll move on to the engine compartment and see what we can see down in there. So the engine lid pops open just by pulling the knob, which is extraordinary because usually that cable is rusted We noted earlier that a bunch of the Porsche letters are missing. It appears somebody tried to glue them back on. That didn't work. Look at that chip there. I'm seeing a different colored paint below there, but we'll know more about that. So let me stop this for a second, turn on the light on the camera. All right, moving inside. So as you can see, it's a carburetor conversion. I'm not sure about those runners and that plenum, if that's specific to the carburetor or part of the original fuel injection. I'll have to research that some. Engine tins appear to be mostly complete. You can see where that cover on the alternator got pulled off. Probably they had to work on the alternator. The distribution box appears to be gutted. I mean, when you switch to carburetors, you don't really need all that. The blower fan is disconnected, and I'm fairly certain, without even putting it on jacks, those fibrous tubes are going to be gone. Also, I believe that's going to be an aftermarket, what is that called? I'll come up with a term later, but you have to install that for your ignition when you gut this distribution board. So note that the linkage on the carburetor conversion appears to be, you know, not homemade, something, you know, that maybe came in a kit. All that looks to be pretty robust and proper. Yep. Single barrel carb, pretty sure it is. Yeah. Let's see if we can get a type off of it. Okay. It's a Holly. That's funny. So there's a coil. Looks like some of the original coil wiring's intact. Spark plugs are on. That's good news. You open these things up and leave them open, that's when bad things happen inside the cylinders. Not sure what this item is. Looks like just a piece of trim, but I'm not sure about that. All right, now the battery tray. Looks like somebody's just basically put a plastic battery tray over the top of the OE battery tray. Interesting. And way down in the hellhole, I mean, hard to tell until you get in there and start digging around how bad that is, but there's going to be rust. I note that the part of the harness here is split, but it looks like nobody's been digging in there. So that's good news. The surrounding metal in the engine compartment, I mean, I've seen rust all up and down the sides of these things. Now that tray that goes around the edges there, you can see some rust in that. But I've seen those completely rusted through. On this side, appears to be in even better shape. And then the engine tin is supposed to mate up all the way down here with that rubber. So there's some more engine tin missing. Let's look on the back side here. A lot of leaves and crap. Loose wing nut. That came off the carburetor, I'm sure. Usually don't like reaching down there unless I get close on. You never know what's in there. Okay. Well, and those plastic tubes, that's part of the drain system. This one's missing the little funnel. Those are always broken. The plastic under tray for the cover is intact. This side has the funnel. So, all right. latch works. Note this seal is all compromised. So what happens on cars that are stored outside, 914s, is the water goes directly down those cracks and permeates the whole firewall, usually both sides, and then the firewall starts to corrode horribly. So I'm hopeful that that hasn't happened on this 914. We'll move to the front trunk next. So I'm pretty pleased with the condition of this front trunk lid. It's generally pretty straight, not much corrosion. The rear trunk lid has got some perforations from corrosion. Springs work. The underside is immaculate. Very surprising. We go in here. I think I need to turn the light on again. Let me stop. All right, that's better. So I've seen real bad corrosion all the way back under the cowl here. Now look at there. We've got it right there, where that seal is in that trough. That's not unusual all the way down this trough and also this wing. You can see we got corrosion setting in. Shocks appear to be intact, most likely original. The mechanical switching on the vent tubes is intact with the cables. Fuel tank has got to be drained. I mean, obviously, got your original sticker. Nice. It's got a nice kink in it, but I'm going to refrain from straightening that out. So that's your washer system. Looking back in the back, yeah, see a little corrosion back in there. That would be seepage from the cowl, which hopefully they got in there and doctored that up before that got too bad, because we noted that that has body filler. So the cowl on this thing is probably going to need attention. That's an expansion on the fuel tank. Oh man, gas doesn't smell that bad. Usually when it's all turned to turpentine, well, it smells like turpentine. Okay. The headlight motors are intact. Who knows if they work? We'll experiment with that later. Original spare tire. Which I would think that wheel is what came with the car, and one of the owners changed out to the impies, or whatever you call them. So let me start pulling this stuff out. I'll get the wheel out and then turn the camera back on. All right, so more carpet that's not original, cut in various sizes. Look like scraps after they've been cutting it up. Visors. I did not even notice if the visors were in place, but surely they're not. These look pretty rough. They're not puffy, they're just flat. Here's part of the rear trunk hinge. So maybe we can salvage that. Open for inspection. That's wonderful. God, you bet you are. All right, let's look under there. We're getting down to the meat of it. Original tire jack. And how about a little brake fluid? See ya. And here we go. Some plyboard covering a couple of holes. So not sure why this was done, unless somebody was just wanted to get rid of rust or was contemplating going to an a water-cooled engine, put a radiator up front. I don't know. If you're going to cut the pan out, you think you cut the whole pan out. So let's see what else we got here. Got an Allen key, part of a seal. Oh, I was hoping to find some of these. Those are the caps off the wheels. Those are probably hard to find. Okay, let's look at wiring harness. Not too bad. Fuel pump has to be a replacement. Yeah, it doesn't really fit properly. So we can test that some point. What's this cable here? Not sure about that. Oh, that's how you charge up the tank for the oh, you put it on the spare tire and it keeps pressure. It's just like a Beetle. Keeps pressure on the windshield washer system. That's what that is. That's truly amazing that still exists, you know, almost 50 years later. So, I mean, aside from the holes in the pan, this is not that bad. I mean, just kind of curious why they cut that out. I mean, in fact, these edges, there's quite a bit of good metal there, unless the corrosion was just right here in the center area and they just boxed it off. You can see where they used a hole saw to get it started and they cut it out. But I mean, the last two 914s I've purchased, this entire pan has been completely corroded. So this is all good news. Also, another area where corrosion will set in, I don't think we can look back in there. Under these headlights, the pan forms like a bat wing shape and goes under the headlights. Corrosion will set in under there, and that has to do with some drain tubes in those buckets for those headlights. So we can take a look at that. All right. Not bad. Not bad at all. So I was able to open the headlights up, lift them using the manual knob on the motor. And that one especially super smooth and easy. This one's getting a little interference. You can see where that metal's kind of crunched up against it. I didn't have to force it very much though. Also, these little eyebrows, or I guess that's what you call them, eyelashes, are usually missing. So pleased to see those intact. So anytime I see a Porsche that's got seat covers on it after it's been neglected for decades, that's a good sign. It means somebody at some point cared about the car enough to go to that trouble. So, I mean, these seats, not in the greatest shape. What does concern me is this one's really wibbly wobbly, which tells me that the seat rail or the floorboard underneath it is compromised. Most likely the floorboard, floor pan. Let's see what's back under here. Pieces, parts. Well, I'll dig that out in a second. Yeah. Oh. It looks like there's a piece of fiberboard under the seat. So that would explain that. That pan is compromised. Let's take a look here. A lot of tarry material, which doesn't look original to me. However, the carpet, all right, you will get corrosion right there where the inner long mates up with the floor pan. That's not looking too bad, not at that particular juncture. I dare say all this textured carpet is OE. That's original. Looking way underneath here, under the pedals, it's not too bad. My concern would be is that tarry substance is merely filling in holes in the pan, which is probable, especially seeing how the seat, I'm not sure what that is sitting on pieces of fiberboard. This is the first 914 I've had that's had a fifth stoplight. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I mean, I'll clean these seats up and I'll use them the way they are for now. That one over there, the passenger side, looks rougher. Wonder if they were swapped out at some point. Usually the driver's side is the worst one. Love the original steering wheel, the horn button, everything. It's crackled, but that's actually, I consider that patina. And look at that dash. That is phenomenal. I mean, what, about a half dozen cracks? Usually they're completely wasted. All right, let me jump over the other side and we'll look around here. Shoot up in here, headliner. And we'll get the target top off here in a little bit. So when I went to look at the car, this owner's manual was sitting here in this state, and then I flip it over and it goes to operating instructions. I don't know that I've ever had one of these, so I'm not sure what exactly is supposed to be in here. You know, it appears, let's see, this goes from, yeah, there's some pages missing. Maintenance record, that's what I'm most concerned about. And I just saw something, oh my god, look at that. We do have some maintenance record. Got a purchase date, got a delivery date, so there's a second owner, Wilmington, North Carolina. No city on that one. 4380. That should be the correct VIN. There's a maintenance sticker on there. So that's just owner information. See if we got any. Oh yeah. Now we're talking. Got a couple stamps here. Yeah. Wilmington, North Carolina. All those. And pretty low miles, 4,041 miles. But he was already into year 76. So, hadn't been driven super hard early in its life. Later, who knows? Gas station information. Really? Yeah, back then it was cheap. That's the information. Okay, enough of that. I mean, that's usually more than I get. I don't know what these pictures are. They're blank. Oh, there's one of the letters, which was painted over at some point. How thoughtless. Let's look at these pans. Oh yeah, now I'm talking. See, that's all original sound deadening there. So on driver's side, all that has been dug out, or a lot of it has. This is all replacement carpet. Let's look under here. It's got the passenger footrest. Those are usually missing. It's got the OE speaker enclosures with the original push button. Okay, same thing other side. These are speaker wires, so no big deal there. Antenna. And the wiring on these things is really simple. I couldn't get this glove box open. There it goes. Oh, what do we have in here? Oh, some of the caps. Yay. And there's the cover from the bad bearing. Well, you didn't really need those, did you? Wheel studs. Great. And that's the lighter, which I actually think I have a 914 lighter in my parts stash. Cigarette lighter. But this whole dash area is amazing. I'm not sure what that's a remnant of. Oh, good. That's what's left of the rear view mirror. Looks like it became detached. I know what happened was the backing. That's the backing off the rear view mirror. It just disintegrated. Yep. So that's a good find there. I'm glad that stuff's in there. It's all very useful. Okay. Yeah, you can see where the mirror just fell off. Okay, looking around here, missing a screw on that target latch. Going around back, these are tricky. That's the rear latches. They're intact, and this rear head bumper, for lack of a better description, that's usually cracked all to hell too. Look on the seat belt. That's the reason the 911 guys didn't like these cars. You go to the dealership, you sit in there, you go to put the seat belt on, and there's a VW stamp right on that part. Porsche was dumb to let that happen. All right, let's pull the cover off this real quick. Let's see how this seat. Ooh, it's all the foam residue. I'm waiting on a filter on my shop vac. It should be here today, and I'll get all this vacuumed up, cleaned up. But I'm really glad somebody put covers, because these seats could be in even worse condition. And I dare say they've been swapped, because that's typical bolster wear on the driver's side from wearing your fancy jeans and cutting into that vinyl. Okay. Well, that's usually one of the first things I do is pull the seats out and get all the floor covering up just to find out what the hell's going on. Nothing in there, and that's loose, but I'm glad it's here. Oh, I don't know how many tools I've acquired getting these old rusty cars, and usually the tools are rusty as well. Very exciting. The target top came off nicely, no major issues. That front seal is definitely compromised. Trying to remember if those are even available. Let's go take a look at the underside of the target top. And there's some trim that's intact. Headliner's puffy. neighbor dog, sorry. Note that there's a handle on that latch. It's missing on this latch. So, yeah. See if we can find one of them. There's some other seals here that are compromised as well. But structurally, the top is pretty good shape. So I got the rest of the carpet out, except for maybe some bits under the seats or behind it. And also I pulled out the passenger's footrest. There's a plug down behind the passenger's footrest. I'm unfamiliar with that. So those of you that know 914s want to fill me in, that'd be great. When I pulled up the tunnel carpet, I noted the light on the heater switch. And I know that there's supposed to be a cover. I think it was blue. And I'm trying to remember if that was part of the carpet or the plastic just set on top of the carpet, the plastic bezel. Or if there was actually a hard piece that went down the tunnel. I'll have to look at the exploded diagrams to refresh my memory in that regard. And here's a new development, not a good one. There'll be plenty more. So I noted that it's got a wrong size battery. So if you can see down through the screen there, some owner cut the drip pan to make the oversized battery work. I'm going to get that out of there because I don't know how much of a charge is in it, but that's a potential fire hazard. Because if that were to short on the body, yeah. I've seen 944s that have went up in flames from just that. On the two other 914s I've had, that did not exist, period. Maybe a stump of rust. So this is a pleasant surprise. I think those two hoses are part of the charcoal canister evap, which should be sandwiched in that wheel well. So I just got to get in here and vacuum this out. I can see the remnants of one hose down there. We'll get this thing up on a lift and we'll evaluate all the stuff underneath. But this is a nice surprise. I mean, if the metal is intact below, looks like somebody's put a sheet metal screw there. So it may not be structural. It's just hard to tell till you clean it up. Get all the way back in there, which is so much easier when the motor's out, and that will happen eventually. Okay, we got the 914 on the lift. I got the wheels off, and let's start looking around underneath, see what we can see. So the first thing I noted when I got the wheels off was the discs don't have much of a lip on them, which I think this car's got over 90,000 miles on it. Those, if they hadn't been changed out at some points, they would have a pretty good lip. So the pads got a little meat left. So maybe the discs were changed out and the pads, the calipers. I've seen a lot worse on that. So I think those will clean up, change out the seals. As long as the piston's not seized up, they'll be okay. Up top here, this is a little bit disturbing. Looks like we got like some true duct tape up there. So somebody was trying to fix some leaks. Something, because they didn't do that at the factory. Yeah, that's a little disconcerting. Otherwise on this fender, all the cosmoline is present. These boots always are fractured. That's like an insulating boot on the back of that turn signal. But otherwise, in this wheel well, and then note, there's the rest of that evap tube. So I thought that the canister, and my battery's just crapped out, so I lost my light. But I thought the canister was up in the wheel well front. But who knows on this car? Doesn't really matter. It's been cut off. So same thing on the passenger rear brake. No lip. Pad. Sorry about the shadows. I'm using my headlight. Pads. There's some meat left. Ooh, look at all them wasp nests. Let me get a light back in there. Golly. Ooh. Good thing it's not summertime. Yeah. That can be a real bad spot up there. Now note there's a splice in that evap hose. I don't think that's factory. I might be wrong. Almost. That's really weird. Looking up top here. I mean, there's been no butchery in here. All the cosmoline is present. There's a nice nest. Jesus. Yeah. Seen a lot of corrosion back in these rear wheel wells. The cosmoline starts to come off and flaking, and then the salt and dirt gets in there, and it really eats the car up underneath there. Also, if you've had major fender damage, you'll see it in here where they've pulled out the fender. Let's check that front one and see if we can see where they've pulled any. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you can see it right there where they've been pulling on that. Yeah. That fender got whacked pretty good. So there's going to be a lot of body filler up in there. Well, not unusual. People that don't know how to drive these cars well always wreck them. Okay, driver's side rear. These rear brakes, calipers are super rare, and they're actually really hard to work on because of the parking brake mechanism. I've done one set and it was super time consuming and tedious. Much harder than any other calipers I've worked on. Let's take a look, see back in here what we got going on. All that looks pretty good. Remember that door handle, driver's side, that little indentation up in there. Get the light out of the way. That's where the rust is. Otherwise, more wasp nest. That'll be a half day just knocking wasp nest out of this thing. Now note that the towing guy, the buddy of the seller, bent that rear fascia, lower valance, whatever you want to call it. He bent that all to hell pulling on this thing. That's unfortunate. Probably be simple enough to bend back in shape. I got to kind of look at that. Also, it may have already been bent to accommodate this aftermarket exhaust. It's a Monza exhaust. I saw a label on it. There's another nest. Yeah. See that? So I don't think that's OE. I think if you look, that cavity up there, that shield, it originally came with a big banana looking exhaust. Also, you can see where the hanger, they didn't bother to get that hanger completed. So, all right. Well, before we get sidetracked, let's move up front. Driver's front next. Same deal, driver's front. Caliper looks pretty darn good. The disc. Cosmoline present. There's that tape again. Let me yank that off, see what happens. Well, that don't look too bad. I'm not sure why they did that. Huh. And then, of course, there's where all that damage is. So far, you know, haven't really looked at the doors. We'd have to pull off the door panels to see the insides of them. So far, the major damage, of course, is this turn signal area, driver's front, and then down this fender here. It's all been pulled out all through there. I wouldn't be surprised if the door had some work done on it, because you think if you were in a collision, it would just keep going. But I'm gonna put the phone on charge for a while and we'll get back to the inspection. So under here is where you usually get the really bad news. I mean, it's not super great, but it's okay. I expected it. Note, we got a lot of blow by oil on the transaxle. I'm fairly confident that's either coming from those tubes on the heads or from the pan itself. Well, actually, it's probably rear main seal. That's where the bulk of it's coming from. So, oh well. Also note that it does have the heater exchange pipes. That's good. It's got the mechanical valves. I forgot what you're supposed to call them. However, the associated cables are gone. There's another one there. Vacuum hose probably has something to do with the fuel injection system. Not sure about that. You know, we'll look at the engine when we pull it out closer. The suspension consoles for the motor mounts are not too bad. I've seen those badly rusted. What is very surprising are these lift points, jack points are mostly intact. That one's got some rut. And this is actually the back of the floor pan here, where it tapers around. Now that's on the other side of the firewall. So this would be floor pan. So passenger side does have some corrosion. It's the driver's side that's really eat up. So I wanted to look underneath here. I couldn't figure out how to get the seat. I thought maybe they'd run a bolt clean through the pan, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Not sure what all these wires are about. Probably part of the seatbelt warning stuff. We'll look at the longitudinals. I was looking down the sides here, and there's not a huge amount of corrosion. Same on this side, just kind of feeling back up in there. Also, like I was telling you about on the inside of the driver's compartment where the pan joins the longitudinal, you'll get corrosion all the way down that seam. Doesn't appear to be the case, or you know, you got some right there, but that's more part of the pan than it is longitudinal. This longitudinal looks better, except where the pan joins up. Now, as you come to the front of the pan, it's really not bad at all. I mean, on this jack point here, I've got a little corrosion in the pan because the jack point is part of the pan there. And yeah, every time you lift it, it's going to push on that jack point. This side looks a hell of a lot better. I've seen those completely corroded out. And what is very surprising is I don't know of the other two 914s I got. This pan here that covers the steering rack has always been missing. So that's It's nice that that's present. Front suspension looks complete. Well, here's an interesting thing, is it's got no front sway bar. I thought all the later cars all had sway bars. This one does not have one. There should be a sway bar that passes through the inner fender. But I don't know. If you guys know something different, let me know, because that's frankly very surprising that it doesn't have a front sway bar. I was pretty confident the rear sway bars were optional, but maybe you could order the car without sway bars at all. Fuck, I don't know. Oh, sorry about my language. And yeah, the rear control arms, those have a tendency to rust real bad. I mean, I think what we're seeing is mostly surface rust. This little hole here would really show if those were eaten up real bad. Same thing there. I mean, it looks pretty good solid metal in there. Of course, the shocks are toast, I'm sure. Yeah, they're oily all the way up to the top. That could be blow-by as well. The CV axles, let me spin it if I can. See if the boot's cracked. Yeah, that one's not spinning worth a damn. I mean, surprisingly enough, the boots aren't cracked on it. That's very surprising. So there's the starter. We haven't even tried that, so who knows about that. And I think that's just the for the backup taillights. I noted that that's your speedo cable there. It's toast. Clutch cable looks marginal. Got frayed. There should have been, I thought there was supposed to be a cover over that clutch pulley. Where the shifter rod goes in, that's beat up pretty badly. Yeah, we got more oil leakage around the pan. Yeah, we really need to drop the engine to get a good idea what's going on there. And frankly, I need to get a socket wrench in there and turn it over, although I was told it turned over. I don't even know that is the case at this point. All I know is that fan pulley is pretty darn rusty. Belt's nice and tight. So I suspect this engine has come out before, because note, well, that could just be sagging. Doesn't appear to be bent. Somebody that was careless about dropping an engine could certainly monkey up the, I think they call it suspension console, or it's like a shelf that surrounds the engine. So, you know, this is directly underneath the battery tray. In fact, that's a drain tube from the battery tray. I don't know that I've ever seen that. I think all that's been rusted out on the other two 914s I've owned. So that is surprising. The lower rear firewall doesn't look too bad. Some flaking in here, but I think that's mostly solid metal. I mean, you start kind of poking around, because I've seen all that rusted completely out. So that's good news there. That's the underside of that tray. Some more of the engine tin. Okay. Well, I'm gonna poke around a little more. I think at this point we got a pretty good idea of what's going on with this car. At this point, I can make decisions regarding which way to go